When you picture a knight, what comes to mind? The clash of swords? The thunder of hooves? Or perhaps the heavy clank of iron armor sounding brave and bold with every step? That sound is the symbol of power. Enemies tremble at it. Maidens swoon over it. But what if the knight himself was the one most terrified of that sound? Imagine a warrior, standing 6'3", rippling with muscle, capable of wrestling a bear with his bare hands. Yet he jumps out of his skin, clutching his heart in terror, just because his own metal elbow bumped his hip with a tiny clink. This is not a joke. This is the tragedy and the comedy of Sir Percival. He is the strongest man in the kingdom of Ironclad, but also the most jumpy. People called him a disgrace to knighthood, but history would call him a silent hero. Tonight, come with me to Percival's tent to witness the strangest battle preparation in the world. A place where the secret weapon is not a sharp blade, but soft, fluffy towels. Sir Percival was perfect, except for his nervous system. He suffered from a rare condition the royal doctors called crystal hearing. His ears were 10 times more sensitive than a normal person's. He could hear a mouse grooming itself 50 meters away. This was excellent for scouting, but it was absolute hell for wearing armor. Imagine being trapped inside a brass bell while someone hits it with a hammer. That was Percival's life inside full-plate armor. Every step, clang. Percival shuddered. Every wave, clunk. Percival squeezed his eyes shut. Every time he drew his sword, shing. Percival got goosebumps. At the round table, when knights slammed their chests to pledge loyalty, Percival was usually the only one falling off his chair in fright. "Look at him," Sir Galahad would whisper mockingly. "A rabbit hiding in a steel shell." Percival was miserable. He didn't fear death. He didn't fear dragons, but he feared that soulless, sharp clanking. It distracted him. In training, he once lost to a rookie simply because the sound of his own helmet hitting his shoulder made him think he was being attacked from behind. The only one who understood and pitied Percival was Barnaby, his loyal squire, who was much better at housekeeping than sword fighting. One evening, seeing Percival staring at his shiny armor with pure dread, Barnaby sighed and put down his broom. "Sir, if you hate the noise so much, why don't we make it silent?" "How?" Percival groaned. "Metal hits metal. It must ring. It is the law of nature." "Laws are made to be bent, sir." Barnaby raided the storage room. He pulled out everything soft he could find. Bath towels, old velvet curtains, wool socks, and even medical bandages. "Stand up, sir." And so, the armor modification began. Barnaby wrapped fluffy towels around Percival's joints. He stuffed felt pads between the chest plates. He wrapped the iron boots in 3 layers of burlap. Even Percival's sword scabbard was lined with velvet, leaving only the sharp blade exposed. When they finished, Percival didn't look like a knight at all. He looked like a giant caterpillar made of quilts, or perhaps an Egyptian mummy prepared for winter. "I look ridiculous," Percival complained, his voice muffled through the layers of cloth inside his helmet. "But try walking, sir," Barnaby winked. Percival took a step. Silence. He waved his arm. Silence. He jumped up and landed. Absolute silence. Just the soft whisper of velvet against the air. Percival's eyes lit up inside his helmet. For the first time in his life, he felt peace inside his shell. He moved faster, more fluidly. Without the clang to startle him, he could focus entirely on his opponent. Then came the opportunity for the quilted knight to prove himself. The kingdom was threatened by the most terrifying monster, the blind dragon of Echo Valley. This dragon was blind, but its hearing was supernatural. It slept on a mountain of gold, and the sound of a single dropping coin was enough to wake it to breathe fire and incinerate an army. King Arthur was desperate. 5 squads of knights had gone in. None returned. The mere clank of armor from a mile away was a death sentence in Echo Valley. Someone needed to retrieve the heart of the dragon gem to seal the beast away forever. "Who will go?" the king asked. The court was silent. Even the bravest knights looked down at their steel boots. They knew their armor was a liability. "I will go," a warm, muffled voice spoke up. Everyone turned. It was Percival, looking like a walking pile of laundry, wrapped in floral fabrics and wool scarves. Giggles rippled through the great hall. "Are you going to kill the dragon with laughter, Percival?" Sir Galahad sneered. Percival didn't answer. He bowed to the king and walked away. And that was when the court gasped. They saw him move, but heard no footsteps. A man weighing hundreds of pounds glided across the marble floor like a ghost. Echo Valley lived up to its name. The wind howled through the rocks like a mournful song. A rolling stone sounded like thunder. Percival and Barnaby entered the dragon's cave. Barnaby whispered, barely moving his lips, "Sir, the towel on your left elbow is thin. Don't bend it too hard." Percival nodded. He walked over piles of dry bones. Thanks to the cloth-wrapped boots, he glided over the brittle skeletons without a single crunch. Thanks to the padded joints, he drew his bow without the friction of metal. They reached the sleeping blind dragon. Its breath was hot as a furnace. The gem lay right on its forehead. Percival climbed onto the dragon. He scaled the rough scales. If he were a normal knight, the sound of armor scraping against dragon scales would have woken the beast long ago. But Percival was the quilted knight. The soft velvet only brushed against the scales like a gentle caress, lulling the monster into a deeper sleep. He was so close, his hand reached out for the gem. Suddenly, an accident happened. Not from Percival, but from Barnaby. The squire, trembling with anxiety while watching his master, accidentally dropped his sewing needle. Ting! A tiny sound, smaller than a mosquito's hum, but in Echo Valley it amplified. Ting, ting, ting. The blind dragon's eyelids snapped open to reveal fiery, sightless sockets. Its ears twitched. It roared a terrifying sound. It turned its head sharply toward Barnaby. Percival, clinging to the dragon's head, saw his friend in mortal danger. He panicked. In that moment of life and death, Percival's fear of noise surfaced. But this time, he didn't hide from it. He realized he needed it. Percival ripped the thick towel off his shield. He drew his sword, which had slipped out of its velvet sheath, and for the first time in his life, Percival intentionally created the sound he hated most. Bang! Clang! Smash! He slammed his sword against his shield with all his might. He stomped his feet on the dragon's head. The sharp, metallic clash rang out right next to the dragon's ear. For a creature with super hearing, this noise at close range was like a bomb going off inside its brain. The dragon screamed in pain, clutching its head, completely disoriented. It spun around, trying to attack the source of the noise, but Percival had already jumped down, landing softly thanks to his padded shoes. "Throw me the towel!" Percival shouted to Barnaby. Barnaby tossed the largest roll of velvet. Percival caught it, and while the dragon was dizzy, he didn't stab it. He used his rapping skills to plug its ears. He stuffed the velvet into the dragon's ears and tied its snout tight with the soft cloth. Deprived of its hearing, its only weapon, the beast panicked and curled up in fear. It was no longer a monster, just a frightened, temporarily deaf lizard. Percival gently took the gem. The dragon collapsed into an exhausted sleep. Percival returned to the capital. He didn't gallop with a clippity-clop. He and his horse, also wearing padded hooves, glided in. The king stared at the gem in his hand. How? How did you defeat it? Percival smiled, unwrapping the scarf from his helmet, revealing a face dripping with sweat, but beaming with pride. I did not defeat it with the strength of steel, Your Majesty. I defeated it with silence and a little bit of noise at the right moment. From then on, Percival was no longer called a coward. He was given the title, the Silent Knight. He formed an elite royal squad where all knights had to learn to wrap their armor in towels. They weren't loud tanks. They were ghosts. They were assassins. And Percival? He still feared the clanking. When off duty, he would still jump if someone dropped a spoon. But he was no longer ashamed of it. He realized that his overly sensitive ears had taught him the value of silence and how to control the noise. Even his teammates, the ones who used to mock him, started secretly wrapping an extra layer of cloth in their boots. Because they learned, softness goes far. Noise just feeds the dragon. My dear friend, does the story of Sir Percival remind you of yourself? We often hate our own quirky weaknesses. Some of us are too sensitive, prone to tears. Some are too shy, afraid of crowds. Some are too particular, obsessing over details. Society tells us to toughen up, to be strong like the loud, clanking iron armor. We try to force ourselves to be like others, and we end up flinching in pain from our own efforts. But Percival taught us a wonderful lesson. Don't try to throw away your fear. Learn to wrap a towel around it. If you are sensitive, don't try to become callous. Use that sensitivity to understand others deeply. If you are shy, don't force yourself to be the center of attention. Become the most observant person in the room. If you are afraid of the noise of life, create your own softness. Strength doesn't have to be loud. Strength doesn't have to show off. Sometimes, strength lies in the soft layers that help you walk through the storm without making a sound. Just be yourself, no matter how many layers of towels you need. Because who knows, that very quirk might be the only weapon that can defeat the dragon in your life. Thank you for listening. Wishing you a peaceful, soft night, and may no sudden clanks disturb your sleep.